In the fall of 1970, my mom purchased 2 bracelets at the Goldcrest Bakery in Cheswick, Pennsylvania.
Roxanne's story we heard about a few years ago when I was working as a general assignment reporter in the newsroom. One of my editors happened to go to a Curves. Roxanne, who was an instructor there at the time, was wearing a POW bracelet. Well, everyone who's even close to my age, I think, has heard about prisoner of war bracelets. We're aware that they existed, but I don't think I've ever actually seen anyone wearing one.
My sister and I put them on. I looked at the bracelet that I'd chosen, and his missing in action date was January of 1968. My birthday is in January, so I decided at that point to commit to putting the bracelet on and not taking it off, which is what they were designed to do.
Well, Roxanne did not know a lot about her soldier. She was very devoted to it, although she knew little about the person whose name was engraved on the bracelet. She just wanted to wear the bracelet in honor of soldiers in general, but we wanted to find out his story as well. Whatever became of this young man who went off to war and, for reasons unknown, never came home. We were able to find out pretty quickly that he had been a Marine. He was Sergeant Orval Skarman. He was from Duluth, Minnesota, and he was very young, just 20 years old. He was kind of the all-American boy next door, had plans to go to college, but decided to enter into the Marines first. He was scheduled to come home in just about a month. I believe it was 1968. He was to return home, but he'd gone on a little R&R mission, hitched a ride, I believe they said, in a helicopter to China Beach. Upon learning he was coming home, his mother had kind of stocked the fridge with all his favorite foods, like any mom would when your kid's coming home. That helicopter crashed. The family was notified that he was MIA. About 5 years later, they finally did decide to declare him deceased. He was someone who was kind of preserved in his friend's memory as forever young. He would always think of Orval as a kid who went off to war as he did as well, but the friend came home and Orval did not.
I made the choice to not research anything about him until after his name had started wearing off, because while the paint was still dark, it gave me the opportunity to talk about the war, and it also made people aware of it. When the war ended, or I don't know, I guess you could say it ended, they started releasing names of POWs that were coming back. So the big deal was to get into the newspaper and read to see, did your soldier come back?
Theirs were the fortunate families.
Obviously mine did not. It's been off 3 times. I played sports in high school. With high school sports, you couldn't wear any jewelry. In the 70s, it was still cool to wear wristbands. I would put the wristband over the bracelet. Well, 2 different times, it kind of slipped out, and the officials caught that. But I took one from the team, took it off, gave it to the manager. Then the 3rd time, I got married on September 4th of 1976. I gave it to my husband. We kind of made a deal that I would take it off for the church service. And then the minute we walked down the aisle, the very first thing he did was take that bracelet right out of his jacket pocket, and I put it right back on. And since that minute, it has never been off since. As the war was over and as it went into the 1970s and then the 80s, and people still remembered. And now, people probably look at it and say, what is that ugly thing on your wrist that you always wear? They don't ask. And that, for me, creates a bit of sadness, because that means people are forgetting. They just don't know. And there are boys that just never came back to the soil in the United States. Scratched up and bent, but it's now a piece of me. If it was meant to come off, let it be broken. If his family had asked for it back, I would be grateful to pull it right off and hand it over.